Pogačar is about to go and Wout van Aert goes with him immediately.
The Paris-Roubaix route has been the same since 1977, with the riders heading out from Compiègne to brave the cobble sections en route to the famous velodrome. But the 122nd edition of this classic promised to be something extra special. Tadej Pogačar and Mathieu van der Poel have gone pedal to pedal in recent weeks. Pogačar taking the Tour of Flanders, Van der Poel the Milan-San Remo. That meant their duel on the Hell of a North was highly anticipated.
It's one of those special races where you work for a winter, so I think we are ready with the team to try and make it a success again. I think I always try to race on instinct, but especially in Roubaix there are so many things that can happen on every cobble section, so you just have to try to be in the race and try to stay in front and hopefully no punctures.
Pogačar had participated in the junior version of the race, but this was his eagerly awaited senior debut on the cobbles that he'd already had a taste of on the Tour de France.
It means a challenge, and I'm looking forward for that one because I trained a little bit this year on the cobbles. I know them since I've been a junior, but I have not so good memories from them. But let's hope we can create some nicer memories this year around. We are here to win the team. And we have very good, strong riders. The motivation is super high. Guys are ready, and I think me as well. So we will try to fight for a win, of course.
It certainly wasn't going to be a two-horse race, though. Aert and Pedersen finished runner-up on the Tour of Flanders. Visma Leasebike's Dylan van Baarle is a former Paris-Roubaix winner, and teammate Wout van Aert has finished on the podium twice.
I don't know if I'm in the shape of my life, but I'm definitely in a top shape, and I haven't been better ever in the classics, so I'm in a good position.
Roubaix is a different race than Flanders, for example. A lot more guys can go for the win. It's unpredictable. If everything comes together, then we have a good chance again.
The beginning of the season was complicated for me. I think. It was hard to find the right legs in the classics, and from Dwars door Vlaanderen on, I felt like myself again, and for sure it was good for the morale to be in a final again in Tour of Flanders with the best riders.
There were 259 kilometres for the peloton from Compiègne to Roubaix, with 55.3 kilometres of cobble sections that could make all the difference. They start at Troisville à Inchy, the first of 30 sections, including the famous Arenberg Trench and the Carrefour de l'Arbre, the tree crossroads, 17 kilometres from the finish at Roubaix. Will the iconic velodrome see a sprint finish, or will one man break away and get the chance to savour the moment as the winner of the 2025 Paris-Roubaix? It wasn't until the peloton had sped over some 40 kilometres at more than 50 kilometres an hour that the first group managed to break away. Led by former Spanish champion Oya Lazcano, the group also featured Lotto's Jasper de Boost, Norwegian champion Marcus Hurlgaard and Kim Hayduk of Ineos Grenadiers. 60 kilometres into the race and the gap to the lead group was more than 2 minutes, which meant it was time for the teams of Pogačar and Van der Poel to take matters in hand in the peloton. Nonetheless, the gap continued to grow and even crept over 3 minutes before the peloton started to eat into it with the first cobble section looming. The approach of the first major difficulty of the day meant the peloton got jumpy. Matej Mohoric was caught up in a crash, as was Van Aert. Fortunately for them, both men had help to get back into the race, but with the wind at their backs, the breakaway group's lead was back to more than 3 minutes as they tackled the first cobble section.
Some will be going forward, some will be washed away over the coming hours. But as we turn this corner, we get ready, because we welcome you to hell. 3:02, 163.2 kilometres to go. Now we start to rumble. The pavé beckons for the peloton. Kind of nice and dusty this first sector. 3 stars, kind of right in the middle. A little bit of grass left and right, and no real indication of the rain of overnight.
Falls are a big factor on the Paris-Roubaix, and the route is no respecter of reputations. Jasper Philipsen, second in each of the last 2 editions, found that out the hard way. And it's not only the riders that suffer. Filippo Ganna dropped back due to a mechanical problem on the first cobble section. Van Aert did too. Pogačar, Van der Poel and Pedersen came through it safely, however, and while Ganna was a minute off the peloton, Van Aert worked his way back into contention. Back down the course, Lidl Trek took charge of the peloton's pace on the cobbles towards Saint-Piton, but with less than 150 kilometres to the finish, the breakaway still had more than 2 minutes in hand. Ganna and former winner Van Baarle were in a group a further minute behind the race favourites. Having rattled along at more than 50 kilometres an hour, the pace then dropped a little, which gave some the chance to close. Ganna and Philipsen were among them, with the cobbles at Havre almost in view. It was in the cobble section that the race favourites started to make serious moves. Pedersen and Pogačar attacked and the lead group started to thin out. Some 20 riders headed towards the Valais forest as the breakaway was being reeled in. The tempo was at its peak as the race favourites headed towards the famous Arenberg Trench. Van der Poel tried his luck once again in the Arenberg Trench as everyone tried to hang on to his back wheel. With the pace high, the breakaway group were picked off, leaving Van der Poel, Pogačar and Pedersen at the front of the race in a lead group of some 15 riders. Van Aert and Stefan Kung, fifth the last 2 years, were not amongst them. Van der Poel certainly wasn't going to wait for them. He stepped up the pace again and had Alpecin de Koning teammate Philipsen to help him as he split the lead group apart. World champion Pogačar was there though, along with Pedersen and Stefan Bissegger. Behind them, a group of 10, including Van Aert and Visma Lease bike teammate Matthew Brennan, kept up the pursuit. Lady Luck also has her say on who emerges unscathed from the Paris-Roubaix. 70 kilometres from the line, she clearly wasn't going to make it Pedersen's day. Denmark's former world champion suffering a puncture, and that was the cue for Pogačar to step on the gas. Van der Poel and Philipsen stayed in touch, but Bissegger's bike gave up on him, leaving the 3 riders out in front with 68 kilometres to go and still 14 potentially perilous cobble sections to negotiate. With the line edging closer, the front 3 were sizing each other up. With 46 kilometres left, Van der Poel made a move. Pogačar followed and counterattacked. That all proved too much for Philipsen, leaving just 2 riders in contention. As the 2 heavyweights of world cycling headed to the finish, Pogačar was the one to make the decisive error. Accelerating just a fraction too much into a tight corner, Van der Poel didn't need asking twice. The gap was around 20 seconds even before Pogačar was forced to change his bike, meaning only Van der Poel himself, or bad luck, could deny him victory. With Pogačar looking safe for second, the race was on for the final place on the podium. The former Paris-Roubaix runner-up and Pogačar's teammate Florian Vermeersch was in the mix, but so too were Pedersen and Van Aert. There was a little scare for Van der Poel at the tree crossroads, but he still had more than a minute in hand with less than 20 kilometres left. As the former world champion headed towards the velodrome, the current wearer of the rainbow jersey, Pogačar, had given up the chase. That left Van der Poel to celebrate as he closed in on a 3rd successive Paris-Roubaix win.
This rider is the man who conquers the 122nd edition of Paris-Roubaix. The king of Roubaix, the triple, Mathieu van der Poel, wins the 122nd Paris-Roubaix.
Tadej Pogačar taking second place on his debut in the race, and it was a sprint for 3rd. Pedersen eventually edging out Van Aert to claim 3rd for the 2nd year in a row. So Mathieu van der Poel taking the 2025 Paris-Roubaix to become only the third man in the history of the race to win it 3 years in succession. It means he's now won 8 monuments of cycling. That's as many as Pogačar.
It means a lot. It's such a hard race and I was really suffering. Yeah, too bad that I had this mistake in the corner. Yeah, but then I just had to go for it, but it was still quite far until the finish line, and it was really hard, especially with the last 2 sectors with the headwind. I was really struggling, but yeah, I'm happy to make it to the finish line.
Van der Poel, Pogačar and Pedersen, the podium finishers for 2025. Van Aert and Vermeersch rounding out the top 5. A special mention too for Marcus Højgaard and Jonas Rutsch, who were in the breakaway group and managed to hang on for a top 10 finish. But the day and the victory belong once again to Van der Poel, the undisputed king of the Hell of the North.